Hey, it's Dave here from Powerhoof with another Drifter Dev Diary. Today I'm going to talk about freewriting, which is my kind of way of brainstorming and coming up with ideas a lot of the time. But before I get into that, I'll show you what I've been doing. So this week I haven't been doing any Drifter dev because I've been working on a game jam, adventure jams happening. So I've been making this a sequel to the Adventure Jam game I did last year, Telwynium. So this is Telwynium Book II. So far I've mainly been doing art. It's in this nice, cozy, old-fashioned Sierra style, dithered EGA, so 16 colors with lots of dithers. And it's I've kind of got 5 of the rooms done of maybe, I'm not really sure how many because haven't worked out the ending of the game yet. But yeah, so you've got this kind of river scenes that the story sort of kicks off from last time where Penn's friend's been captured by the Shadowfell bad guys. And they've arrived at this sort of town where the Shadowfell have crossed this ferry and burnt the bridges and stuff, so that they're like kind of stuck. And so last time all the art, because I didn't doing the art myself, was all in this sort of forest. This time I'm doing more town kind of stuff. This is an Uplander forge. Uplanders are like this sort of Highland cow meets dwarf thing. And yeah, so I've been kind of getting this art stuff in. Yesterday I kind of put it in game and got you walking around, but you can't actually click or look at anything yet. So you've got an inn. You can go in and here's your friend, Uplander friend, sort of hard, yeah, and another friend from the last game. Tavern. I'll probably have to have a tavern owner or something in here, peeking through. Yeah, I've kind of been trying to like condense down the number of rooms because I originally had like 14 that I was thinking I might need, and so like this one you can go up this cliff face, or you can go to the right, or you can go down. So trying to condense it. So yeah, you don't have like a huge amount of town rooms. You can go up here, and this one I'm really happy with. I got this cool hand. Looks interesting. Very epic fantasy vibes. Because it's been a year since I did the last one, I had a lot of set piece stuff in my head of like what I'd like to do, and so that's why I think I've given myself a bigger challenge, putting all this stuff in. But yeah, cool. That's so far that's all I've done, but I'm pretty happy with how it's coming along, and I'm pretty happy with the art. It's a good style. I can kind of get away with being pretty scrappy and just like under this style feels almost like impressionist. I can just slap these colors down for the trees, and yeah, so last time they were all forest backgrounds, which meant I could just use the same colors and stuff for the foliage and trees and ground and foreground bits. Like these sort of use the same colors in each scene, the background and stuff, but then yeah, all the building stuff's a lot harder than drawing sort of forest path with some rocks. At least it takes takes more patience, more planning, a bit more as well. But yep, so that's the dev diary. But today I want to talk about freewriting. So freewriting is my kind of it's something I first heard about from a talk that Tim Schafer did in Melbourne. He was talking about his creative, the way he kind of writes and comes up with creative ideas. And it was something I wanted to try for a while, and then when we started Powerhoof, I was like, I'm going to sit down every morning and free write for half an hour, which I did a little bit, kind of stuck to that for a little while, but not like every day. And then, but it's something that I kind of built as a skill to be able to do. Anyway, I'll skip to like explaining what it is. Basically, the idea is you just write down stream of consciousness in a notepad or something, what you're thinking about something as you're as you're thinking through a problem, or just basically you can just write anything, like even if it's just garbage. The idea is that you're writing down all your thoughts as you think them, and not worrying about spelling or anything, and just writing fast. And because I'm a much faster typer and more comfortable typer than I am a writer. In fact, I find handwriting almost painful. I do it on a keyboard, and I can look away from the screen and type pretty easily. So, and because it's free writing, I don't have to care about spelling, which you can tell by looking at this. So this is I've got a big list of these free writing things, files on my in this folder, and I've got a batch file that's on my desktop, new session, and I just double click that. It gives it the date and just opens up a new one, and I can just start typing. So let's do some free writing today, and this is on stream. What should I write about? Well, they often start with like, what should I write about, or what should I be thinking about right now? And that's where I kind of start them, and then move on to going, okay, now today I've got to think about how to solve this puzzle problem I've got, or come up with ideas for this particular game. And so the reason I do it is, rather than just like going for a walk, having a shower, or just like sitting there and thinking and writing down the actual coherent thoughts that come into my head, I find that free writing lets me kind of order my thoughts. Like, it stops those little cyclical loops that I always get into otherwise, where I'm just thinking the same thing over and over, and just somehow gives space. It sounds really wanky, but like, it's almost like a meditative thing where you start to give space to your subconscious to sort of be able to speak out a bit, and like throws up little ideas, and they don't seem to come from anywhere in particular, but I don't know, somehow it just works. And I think it's a personal thing. Like, this works really well for me, and I feel really lucky that it works so well, because some people really struggle to find ideas, whereas I kind of I have lots of ideas. Finding the best one and the right one is sometimes hard, but and I sometimes, I'll get into a trap where I feel like, there's no kind of way for this plot to resolve, or this puzzle section to really work well, and then it takes me a while. So I still get like that kind of writer's blocky thing, but this is a sort of way I can go, okay, well, I'm stuck on something. I can sit down for half an hour, or even like up to an hour or something, and just like write down all my thoughts, and a lot of the time I'll like work through something. So it kind of lets me put some time down to like, okay, I've just got to do some creative problem solving in a kind of methodological, whatever, methodological. No, that word, I'm so bad at this. Methodical. That's the word. Methodical. I was trying to get too fancy. I mean, some of the tips for doing it that I've heard are, John Cleese has a great talk on creativity, where he talks about locking yourself basically in a room for a number of hours every day. Well, or when he wants to do some creative stuff, not having any distractions, and just giving yourself subconscious time to sort of speak. For me, this is a very efficient way of doing that, where I can I think because now I kind of practiced at it, I guess, I can kind of get into that flow state of just doing the writing and sort of thinking about the thing a lot easier. But yeah, and it's quite directed. Anyway, I'll show you so this is my big list, but I'll show you this one from last year's Adventure Jam. I think it was this one. Yeah, so 2021, May. So this was like coming up with trying to come up with ideas. I knew I want to do a fantasy kind of thing, or I thought I'd like to do something like that. Adventure Jam, why not? So I just start typing, and you'll notice like it's all full of horrible spelling mistakes. There's this adventure idea. I mean, I'm trying to draw some kind of fantasy forest area. Seems quite a fun thing to draw, and some rocky stuff. So just sort of like blabbering about what I kind of would like to do, and then sort of now trying to think, okay, what kind of things would work with that plot-wise. I start thinking about what kind of creatures could work, mix of animals and humans, which is where that kind of, I guess, that Uplander idea eventually came from. I was like thinking about animal races that might be interesting, snow leopard person, lion people that they've kind of done. Or one thing with free writing that you're not supposed to do is tell yourself that that's a bad idea when you're thinking of things. You should, it's best to be open-minded and not do that kind of thing where you say, oh, what about this idea? Oh no, that's a bad idea. I won't do that. You're not supposed to have those thoughts, but that's quite hard to do. Rhino dude, I like rhinos, yes. Could have a big-headed rhino dude. But yeah, so eventually that evolved into like, oh, what about a Highland cow kind of dwarfy kind of creature? And then what else? Yeah, so thinking about the plot and the area, dark forest, along a path. Your camp. Yeah, so thinking about, okay, there's a road, your camp, which is where I started it. Perhaps you follow a clue through a dark path and find a cliff and cave. Caves are cool. And in cave, a few things. If you've played the Telwynium, that's basically what happens in the game. You're in a little area, you're camping at night, and then one of the main blockers is you've got to get, there's a sort of hidden cave that you've got to get into and find some cool stuff in there. There's like so you can kind of, that's where that came from, that idea. And then I think the next session I did is a couple of days later. I think this was just before it actually started. I was thinking about, okay, what sort of some more kind of thriller design of doing things. Don't really know what I'm talking about here, but I was basically just trying to work out more plot, like, okay, what should the plot be for this thing? And I started thinking about skeletons being cool, which at the end of it you can kind of tell it's like, okay, I wanted to have skeletons in this. And I'm talking about if you have this book, you can summon things, reanimate things, which is kind of how the game ends up. It ends up being a story about this kid becoming a cool, sweet necromancer. And that's when the next one kind of kicks off as well. Skeleton, monkey, or imp or something. So yeah, lots of ideas that don't make it in, but then you just latch onto one that does. Yeah. So I'm looking, what can a skeleton do that you can't? Play golf? I don't know. Yeah. So you become a fucking ace necromancer. Able to create armies of the dead. That's pretty rad. Nice spin on just having a bad guy make him, I guess. And then some other stuff. Is there a horror element though? Maybe a friend is killed and you bring him back, like Pet Cemetery. So this is kind of stuff which kind of ended up coming into the game a bit. I think here there's somewhere where I was talking about, you're just like a kid, like farm kid or something. I think there's something here about, so here's where I was thinking about the very start of the game where you're at a camp and it's time to put another log on the fire and someone else looks out. I'm using like names from the Wheel of Time series. Yeah, Randall Thor, because I was like kind of trying to think along those lines. But yeah, so that's, you can see I kind of went. So yeah, you see a scarf trapped in solid rock, which ended up in the game. So I've kind of quite quickly here come up with a bunch of ideas for the game that have ended up in the final thing. And from here you can see, like, as I went through the jam that time, I hadn't really worked out what the plot was much beforehand, so I'm still like working out ideas of what to do. Like, I hadn't worked out the ending and stuff. So I did quite a lot of this, like every day or two, and writing out some more kind of design. Sometimes I just open up one of these files, so I've got a fresh text file to write notes in as well. And yeah, like I sometimes just relax and close my eyes and put my feet up and just type away as well, which is quite nice on the couch or whatever. During lockdown, I bought a deck chair so I could like take my laptop outside and just write on the deck chair as well, which is good. So yeah, basically it's like almost like a chilled out meditation thing. It's quite enjoyable once you get into it. Yeah, I don't think it's... Well, I mean, in terms of tools, I use Notepad++, which on Windows, which is really which I love. Just you can just use Notepad. I find that I was using WordPad, so I could make things bold if I wanted, and I found that just going to straight pure text was really just the most efficient thing. Like no distractions. Notepad, just like standard Notepad, has a few disadvantages. Like there's no tab things. When you click close it, like if you've edited it, it asks you to save if you want to save. Whereas in Notepad++, if I've just like written something and I just close it, it's just there when I open it up again. It's still there, things like that. So yeah, I tend to now, if I've come up with some ideas for the Drifter or something, I've got like a list, another tab in here which is just again text, but I can just quickly jot down the sort of summary of what I've come up with. I've got a little foldable, a little kind of I don't know what you call it, like a language I've sort of made for Notepad++, where I can, if I put an equals at the start of the line, it'll recognize that as something I can kind of fold in and out, and I can put these dot points with a minus sign and then change that to a plus if it's like something a task I've completed. That's kind of nifty. There's other tools out there, but I just find working in raw text works really well for me. It's really easy, and I'm always at my computer, so I don't really need it to be on the cloud. It's in Dropbox, I guess, but doesn't need to be like on my phone or anything. So I find that's really efficient and works well. Yeah, anyway, that's my little talk for today, and yeah, I'm not sure how I'll go next week doing a dev diary, because next week is the last week of the jam, and I think I've got to finish it on the Friday, so I might be busy on the Thursday, panicking, but we'll see how we go. Alright, well, bye bye.